Breaking chains. The crystalline spires of Port Nexus cast long shadows across the holding cells, their pristine beauty a stark contrast to the suffering within. Naira pressed her iridescent fingers against the energy barrier, her violet eyes reflecting the shimmer of her prison walls. Unlike the other Celestians in captivity, whose natural bioluminescence had dimmed to near darkness, hers still pulsed with defiant life. The guards called her troublesome. 3 escape attempts in 2 weeks had earned her that reputation, along with the highest security containment cell in the facility. They didn't understand that for a Celestian healer, confinement was worse than death. Her people were born to float free in the stellar winds, their bodies naturally absorbing and channeling the energy of the cosmos. The sound of boots on metal flooring drew her attention. 2 guards approached, flanking a tall figure in a merchant's robes. Another buyer, come to examine the exotic goods. Naira's lip curled in disgust. This one's special, the first guard said, tapping his stun baton against the barrier. Natural energy manipulator. Could power a small city if you hook her up right. The merchant stepped closer, and Naira caught a glimpse of eyes that seemed too sharp, too calculating for a simple trader. He moved with a predator's grace despite his bulky robes. How much? The merchant's voice was deep, carrying an accent Naira couldn't place. 100,000 credits. Non-negotiable. The guard's tone carried a note of pride. She's worth triple that on the black market. The merchant nodded slowly, reaching into his robes. Naira tensed, expecting to see a credit chip. Instead, his hand emerged holding a neural disruptor. Both guards dropped before they could reach for their weapons. Name's Marcus, he said, deactivating the barrier. And we have about 3 minutes before the security systems reboot. Naira stepped out cautiously, her natural glow brightening with freedom. Why help me? Because the collective's been rounding up your people for their energy farms. Been tracking these shipments for months. He shed the outer robe, revealing tactical gear beneath. Your people heal planets. Restore dead systems to life. Using you as batteries. He spat. That ends. An alarm blared in the distance. Marcus pulled a second neural disruptor from his belt and offered it to her. Can you fight? Naira took the weapon, her fingers brushing his. The contact sent a spark of energy between them, making Marcus jump slightly. We Celestians are peaceful, she said, adjusting the disruptor's settings. But I've learned. They moved through the facility like shadows, Marcus's combat training complementing Naira's natural ability to dim the lights around them. When guards appeared, they worked in silent tandem, Marcus disrupting their neural patterns while Naira used her energy manipulation to short out their weapons. The landing bay is 2 levels up, Marcus whispered as they crouched behind a cargo container. Got a stealth ship waiting, but we'll have to cross the main processing floor. Naira's glow pulsed with determination. The other Celestians. We can't leave them. Marcus met her gaze, seeing the same fire that had first caught his attention in the surveillance feeds. That wasn't the plan. Plans change. Her violet eyes narrowed. You said it yourself, this ends. A squad of guards rushed past their hiding spot, headed toward the holding cells. Marcus cursed under his breath, then nodded. Central control room first. We'll need to override the cell barriers. They found the control room defended by 3 technicians and a security officer. The fight was brief but intense, ending with the humans unconscious and Naira accessing the facility's systems. Her fingers danced over the controls, energy flowing from her into the computer networks. Warning, the facility's AI announced. Power fluctuation detected. Backup systems engaging. What are you doing? Marcus asked, keeping watch at the door. Converting their power grid to match Celestian energy patterns. Her voice strained with concentration. It'll overload their systems, but free my people. The lights flickered, then died. Emergency red lighting cast everything in a bloody glow. Throughout the facility, energy barriers sputtered and failed. The sounds of chaos erupted, shouts, running feet, and the distinct hum of Celestian energy signatures growing stronger. "They'll head for the upper levels," Naira said, straightening. "It's instinct. We sense the stars." Marcus grabbed her arm as she swayed, steadying her. "Then that's our rally point. The landing bay." They fought their way upward, gathering freed Celestians as they went. Marcus was amazed at how quickly the formerly docile prisoners organized themselves, using their energy manipulation abilities to disable security systems and create protective barriers around the younger ones. The landing bay doors were sealed when they arrived, a full platoon of guards waiting on the other side. Naira stepped forward, her glow now brilliant enough to cast shadows. "My people are not your batteries," she announced, her voice carrying the harmonic resonance of her species. "We are the children of starlight, and we are leaving." Energy pulsed from her hands, not attacking the guards but reaching past them to the bay doors. The metal groaned, then began to glow with absorbed power. Marcus watched in awe as the massive doors simply dissolved into pure energy, which the Celestians quickly absorbed. "That's new," he managed, raising his disruptor as the guards recovered from their shock. Naira's smile was fierce. "We heal. We restore. But when necessary, we can also unmake." The battle that followed was brief but spectacular. The guards' weapons proved useless against beings who could absorb and redirect energy. Within minutes, the landing bay was secured, and Marcus was leading them to his ship, a modified stealth transport large enough for all the rescued Celestians. As they lifted off, Naira stood at the viewport, watching Port Nexus shrink beneath them. "You never said why you really helped us," she said quietly. Marcus initiated the stealth systems before answering. "Humanity's got a lot to answer for. The collective's crimes, the energy farms, the slave trade, it's all built on human greed. But humans also have the power to make it right." He glanced at her. "Someone has to take the first step." Naira nodded, her glow softening to a gentle pulse. "Where will you take us?" "There's a resistance base in the outer rim. Good people, fighting to expose the collective's operations." He paused. "But after that, it's your choice. Your people are free." "Freedom," she murmured, watching the stars emerge as they broke atmosphere. "It's just the beginning, isn't it?" Marcus didn't answer, but they both knew the truth. This wasn't just a rescue, it was the start of something bigger. The collective wouldn't stop hunting them, and the Celestians wouldn't forget their captivity. Change was coming to the galaxy, sparked by one human's choice to stand against injustice. As the ship jumped to hyperspace, Naira's glow synchronized with the engine's pulse, and for the first time since her capture, she felt hope. Not just for herself, but for all those still in chains. They would return, stronger and wiser, ready to heal not just planets, but the broken systems that allowed such cruelty to flourish. The revolution would begin with a healer and a human who dared to care. Underground allies. The resistance base wasn't what Naira expected. Instead of a military compound, Marcus guided their ship into a massive cavern system beneath the surface of a seemingly uninhabited moon. Bioluminescent fungi lined the rocky walls, reminding her painfully of home. "Welcome to Echo Chamber," Marcus said, powering down the engines. "Not much to look at, but it's the safest place in 3 sectors." The cavern housed a hodgepodge of ships, structures, and beings from across the galaxy. Naira spotted several species she recognized from the holding cells at Port Nexus, now moving freely among humans and other aliens. Her fellow Celestians murmured in surprise, their collective glow creating ripples of light through the cavern. A tall figure emerged from the crowd, her scaled skin shifting colors to match the ambient lighting. "Marcus," the reptilian woman called out, "when I sent you to gather intel, I didn't expect you to bring back an entire refugee population." "Plans changed, Commander Vex." Marcus gestured to Naira. This is Naira. She's the reason we succeeded. Commander Vex's pupils contracted, a sign of interest among her species. A Celestian healer. The stories say your kind can restore dead worlds to life. The stories are incomplete, Naira replied, standing tall. We don't just heal planets. We maintain the balance of entire systems. That's why the collective wants us. They're trying to reverse the damage they've done to their mining worlds without changing their practices. Vex's scales rippled with dark patterns. Anger, Naira guessed. Typical collective thinking. Want the solution without addressing the cause. She turned to Marcus. Get them settled in the East Warren. Then meeting room, 1 hour. Both of you. As they guided the freed Celestians to their temporary quarters, Naira observed the underground community more closely. The caverns had been transformed into a self-sustaining ecosystem. Hydroponics gardens grew along the walls, powered by recycled energy. Children of various species played together near communal areas, while adults worked at everything from maintenance to weapons training. How long has this been here? She asked Marcus. 5 years, give or take. Vex started it after the collective destroyed her homeworld. Said if they were going to force people underground, we'd make the underground our strength. He helped a young Celestian adjust their sleeping pod. Every person here has lost something to the collective. But together, we're building something new. The meeting room turned out to be a natural chamber enhanced with holographic technology. Commander Vex waited with her command staff, a diverse group including a quantum-linked AI housed in a mobile unit, a burly human woman with cybernetic enhancements, and a being composed entirely of living crystal. The collective's getting desperate, Vex began without preamble. They've stripped too many worlds bare, and their terraforming projects are failing. That's why they're hunting Celestians. The crystalline being, introduced as Echo, projected data streams into the air. Energy consumption rates in collective space have increased 300% in the past solar cycle. Their solution to failing resources is to simply use more resources. They're dying, the cybernetic woman, Lieutenant Reed, added. And they know it. Makes them dangerous. Naira stepped forward, her glow pulsing with purpose. My people can help restore their worlds, but not as slaves. And not while they continue to destroy more systems. Then we make them stop. Marcus's voice was quiet but firm. The port nexus breakout will hurt them, but they'll recover. We need to strike harder. Vex's scales shifted to a strategic blue. What do you propose? The collective's power comes from public support, Marcus said. Most citizens don't know about the slave trades or the ecological destruction. They see the benefits, cheap energy, terraformed worlds, economic growth. We need to show them the cost. The AI unit hummed thoughtfully. The collective's annual Unity Summit is in 3 cycles. Every major leader and corporate head will be there, along with media from all sectors. Perfect time to make a statement, Reed grinned. Naira felt energy crackling beneath her skin. More than a statement. A demonstration. All eyes turned to her. You want to show them the cost? Let's show them what healing really looks like. Not their artificial terraforming, but true restoration. Echo's crystalline form sparkled with interest. The summit is being held on Primera, one of their showcase terraformed worlds. Which is dying, Naira added. I can sense it from here. The artificial atmosphere is failing, the synthetic ecosystem collapsing. They're keeping it stable with constant energy inputs, but it's not sustainable. Marcus caught her meaning first. You want to heal it. During the summit. With all of them watching, she confirmed. Show them there's another way. A better way. The room erupted in discussion. Reed arguing logistics, Echo calculating probabilities, the AI processing security protocols. But Vex held up a hand for silence, her scales now a deep purple of contemplation. It would mean exposing this base, she said. Everything we've built here. We can't hide forever, Marcus replied. At some point, we have to stop reacting and start changing things. Vex studied them both, her scales cycling through colors before settling on a determined gold. Echo, start gathering intel on Primera's security systems. Reed, we'll need transport for all the Celestians willing to participate. Marcus, Naira, start planning how to get them planetside without detection. As they left the meeting room, Marcus caught Naira's arm. This is bigger than a rescue mission now. Are you sure your people are ready? Naira looked back at the cavern, where her fellow Celestians were already integrating into the resistance community. Some were helping in the hydroponics gardens, their natural energy accelerating plant growth. Others worked with the engineers, offering insights into sustainable power systems. We've been ready, she said softly. Waiting in chains for someone to see us as more than batteries. Now we have a chance to show the galaxy what we really are. Her violet eyes met his. The question is, are you humans ready to learn a different way? Marcus smiled, a mix of determination and hope. Guess we'll find out. Above them, the bioluminescent fungi pulsed in patterns that reminded Naira of starlight. In 3 cycles, they would challenge the collective's vision of progress with something older and wiser, the power of healing, freely given. But first, they had a revolution to plan. Haven's shadow. The discovery came 3 days before their planned mission to Primera. Naira was working with Echo in the data center, analyzing the planet's deteriorating ecosystem, when the crystalline being's form suddenly pulsed with alarm. Security breach, Echo announced, their crystalline structure refracting light in chaotic patterns. Someone's accessing our communications array without authorization. Naira's glow dimmed instinctively, adapting to stealth mode. Can you trace it? Upper levels, near the auxiliary power station. Echo's voice carried an unusual edge. But that's not the worst part. They're transmitting coordinates, our coordinates, to a collective frequency. The betrayal hit Naira like a physical blow. All this time, they'd had a spy in their midst. She reached for the comm unit. Marcus, we have a situation. His response was immediate. On my way. Don't confront them alone. But as Naira and Echo monitored the transmission, something else caught their attention. The data stream included more than just coordinates, it contained detailed information about their planned intervention at the Unity Summit. Someone had access to their highest-level strategic meetings. Commander Vex arrived with Marcus and Lieutenant Reed, her scales a dangerous red. Show me everything. Echo projected the transmission data into the air. Reed's cybernetic eye whirred as she analyzed the patterns. This is military-grade encryption. Whoever's sending this isn't some low-level informant. It gets worse, Echo added. I've decoded part of the transmission. They're not just warning the collective about our plans, they're providing details about the Celestians' healing abilities. Technical data we never shared outside this room. Marcus's hand tightened on his weapon. Someone in command. Vex's scales shifted through patterns of rage and betrayal. Lock down all exits. Reed, activate security protocols. No one leaves until we find the source. The base transformed from a sanctuary into a web of suspicion. Security teams moved through the corridors while Echo's surveillance systems scanned for unauthorized communications. The Celestians gathered their young ones into the central chamber, their combined glow creating a protective barrier. Naira found herself in the command center with Marcus, reviewing security footage. There, she pointed to a shadow moving through the hydroponics section. That's not a normal patrol pattern. Marcus zoomed in on the figure. Lieutenant Kara from engineering. She has access to the power systems, but why would she be there during rest cycle? Because the power station connects directly to our communications array, Reed's voice came from the doorway. And she's been requisitioning unusual amounts of energy crystals, the kind used in long-range transmitters. Vex's voice cut through their comms. All units converge on engineering. Quietly. They found Kara in the auxiliary control room, hunched over a modified transmitter. She spun at their approach, her eyes wide with a fanatic's conviction. "You don't understand," she said, backing away from the console. "The collective is order. Structure. Without them, we're just animals fighting in the dark." "They're destroying entire worlds," Naira countered, her glow pulsing with anger. "Enslaving species. How is that order? Necessary sacrifices for progress." Kara's hand moved to a device on her belt. "The collective builds. Creates. All you do is preserve dying systems that should be replaced." Marcus stepped forward, his weapon trained on her. "It's over, Kara. Step away from the transmitter." Her laugh was bitter. "It's been over for hours. The collective knows everything, your plans, your numbers, the Celestians' abilities. They're coming, and they'll cleanse this infection of chaos you call resistance." Before anyone could move, Kara slammed her hand down on the transmitter. Energy surged through the device, and alarms blared throughout the base. Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace, Echo's voice echoed through the comms. Collective signatures. Heavy cruiser class. Vex's orders came fast and sharp. Evacuation Protocol Alpha. Get our people to the emergency shuttles. Read, initiate base self-destruct. We're not leaving them anything to study. Chaos erupted as the resistance mobilized. Naira found herself helping coordinate the Celestian evacuation while Marcus and Reed secured their escape routes. The first explosions rocked the upper levels as collective forces began their assault. In the midst of the evacuation, Naira made a decision. "We can't run," she told Marcus as they hurried through the corridors. "If we scatter now, we'll never get another chance at Primera. The summit's too well defended now," he argued. "They know we're coming." "Exactly." Her violet eyes blazed. "They'll be so focused on stopping an attack, they won't expect us to try healing the planet right under their noses. We just need to change our approach." Marcus studied her for a moment, then activated his calm, "Commander, we need to split up. Make them think we're running in all directions." Vex's voice crackled through static. "While a small team heads to Primera? It's suicide, Marcus." "It's hope," Naira countered. "And right now, that's what everyone needs." A pause, then Vex's scales shifted to battle gold through the video feed. "Take Echo and a squad of your choosing. The rest of us will give them multiple targets to chase." Her expression hardened. "Make it count." As they rushed to prepare their covert team, Naira caught glimpses of their home falling apart. The hydroponics gardens were in flames, the sleeping quarters collapsed. Everything these people had built, destroyed by betrayal. "We'll build again," Marcus said, reading her thoughts. "Somewhere stronger. But first, we show the galaxy what real healing looks like." Above them, the sound of collective weapons fire grew closer. They had minutes, maybe less. But as Naira looked at their small team, a human who chose justice over order, a crystalline being who understood transformation, and her fellow Celestians ready to risk everything for change, she felt something stronger than hope. She felt certainty. The collective thought they were bringing order to chaos. Instead, they would witness the true power of harmony, freely chosen and freely given. The revolution wouldn't be won with weapons or armies, but with the simple, unstoppable force of healing. As their ship slipped away through hidden tunnels, Naira watched Echo Chamber collapse behind them. In its destruction, she saw the last traces of Haven's shadow fall away, leaving only the clear path forward. To Primera, to truth, to change. The real work was just beginning. Rising storm. Primera gleamed like a false jewel in the void, its artificially maintained atmosphere swirling with unnatural patterns. From the cargo hold of the transport ship, Naira watched the approaching planet with mixed emotions. Even at this distance, she could sense its pain, a world forced into shapes it was never meant to hold. Cargo Vessel Sierra 94, you are cleared for landing pad 7, the spaceport control's voice crackled through their comm, maintain designated approach vector. Marcus, dressed in stolen Collective Shipping Company coveralls, acknowledged the instruction. Their small team was hidden among legitimate cargo, Echo's crystalline form disguised as industrial minerals, the Celestians sealed in specialized containers that masked their energy signatures. Security's even tighter than Intel suggested, Reed's voice came through their encrypted channel. The lieutenant had taken another team to the far side of the planet. They're scanning everything twice. Expected after Echo Chamber, Marcus replied quietly. Status on the other teams? In position. Commander Vex has their forces chasing shadows in 3 different sectors. We're as clear as we're going to get. The landing was smooth, practiced. Marcus played his role perfectly, a bored cargo hauler making his 100th delivery to the Unity Summit preparations. The inspectors barely glanced at his falsified manifests, more concerned with the high-profile delegates already arriving for the event. Once cleared, they began the delicate process of unloading their cargo into a private warehouse secured by resistance sympathizers. Naira emerged from her container, her natural glow dimmed to near darkness. The planet, she whispered, pressing her hand to the warehouse floor. It's worse than we thought. The artificial systems are failing faster than the collective realizes. Echo reformed from their crystalline disguise, interfaces flickering with data. Atmospheric degradation accelerating. Core temperature fluctuations increasing. Estimated systemic collapse in less than 1 planetary cycle. They're going to showcase a dying world, Marcus said grimly, helping the other Celestians from their containers. Tell their citizens it's the future of colonization. Not if we show them the truth. Naira stood, violet eyes fierce. We need to reach the planetary control nexus. That's where all their terraforming systems connect. Their plan was audacious in its simplicity. While the summit's security focused on preventing attacks, they would work from within the planet's own systems. The Celestians would connect with Primera's true nature, while Echo interfaced with the artificial controls, creating a bridge between the natural and synthetic. Moving through the city was a lesson in contrasts. The surface gleamed with artificial perfection, clean streets, regulated temperatures, carefully maintained gardens. But beneath, Naira could feel the planet's rebellion. Native bacteria evolving to break down synthetic materials. Underground water tables shifting away from forced channels. Life itself refusing to be contained. They split into teams, the Celestians positioned at key nodes throughout the city, waiting for the signal. Marcus led Naira and Echo toward the central control facility, using maintenance tunnels and service corridors to avoid detection. Security breach in Sector 7, a voice echoed through the facility's announcement system. All personnel report to emergency stations. That's Reed's team, Marcus grinned. Creating a nice, obvious distraction. They encountered only token resistance, a few technicians easily convinced to take an unscheduled break, security systems that echoed disabled with precise data bursts. The real challenge awaited in the control room itself. Dr. Helena Vale, the collective's leading terraforming scientist, looked up from her console as they entered. Her expression showed no surprise, only a cold recognition. The escaped Celestian, she said, studying Naira. And a resistance fighter. Here to sabotage humanity's greatest achievement. Your achievement is killing this planet, Naira replied. You're forcing patterns it was never meant to hold, burning through resources to maintain an illusion. I'm creating the future, Vale countered. A future where humanity isn't bound by the limitations of natural worlds. Where we can shape reality to our needs. Your future is built on slavery and destruction, Marcus said, keeping his weapon trained on her. How many worlds have to die before you realize it's not sustainable? Vale's laugh was bitter. Sustainability is a myth. The strong survive by consuming the weak. That's nature's true pattern. No, Naira stepped forward, her glow brightening. That's fear's pattern. Let me show you nature's truth. Before Vale could respond, Echo interfaced with the control systems. Displays flickered as the AI began dismantling the artificial constraints. Throughout the city, other Celestians felt the signal and began their work. Naira placed her hands on the central console, connecting not with the terraforming controls but with Primera itself. Her consciousness expanded, touching the planet's true essence beneath the synthetic shell. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Energy surged through the facility as the planet responded to genuine healing for the first time. Through their shared connection, Naira felt her fellow Celestians joining her, their combined power reaching deep into Primera's core. "What are you doing?" Vale demanded, watching her displays flash with warnings. "You'll destroy everything." "We're letting the planet remember itself," Naira said, her voice harmonizing with Primera's rising song. "Not your artificial balance, its true nature." Through security feeds, they watched as the change spread. Gardens burst with native flowers breaking through manufactured soil. Waters shifted color as original mineral contents restored themselves. The very air seemed to shimmer as natural energy patterns reasserted themselves. "Impossible," Vale whispered, her scientific certainty crumbling as she watched years of terraforming transform in minutes. Above them, in the summit's Grand Assembly Hall, the galaxy's most powerful leaders were witnessing the same transformation. Their carefully staged demonstrations of progress were being overwhelmed by a display of nature's own power. "Send the signal," Marcus told Echo. "Let everyone see." The AI broadcast the truth, not just of Primera's transformation, but of the collective's crimes. The slave trades, the destroyed worlds, the unsustainable consumption that drove their expansion. And alongside it, they showed another way, healing freely given, worlds restored to their natural balance, progress that grew from harmony rather than conquest. As Primera's real atmosphere began to shimmer with auroral lights, a natural phenomenon long suppressed by terraforming, Naira felt the first tremors of true change. Not in the planet beneath them, but in the minds watching from above. The storm they had crafted wasn't one of destruction, but of revelation. And like all storms, it would clear the air for something new to grow. Vale sank into her chair, decades of certainty washing away. What happens now? Marcus looked at Naira, still glowing with planetary energy, then at the screens showing chaos erupting in the summit hall. Now we show them how to rebuild. Dawn's promise. The first sunrise over the restored Primera painted the sky in colors no artificial system could replicate. Streams of violet and gold danced through naturally forming cloud patterns, while the native vegetation, dormant for decades beneath synthetic replacements, pushed through to reclaim its place in the world. In the summit's grand hall, now transformed into an emergency council chamber, Naira stood before representatives from across the galaxy. Her natural glow pulsed in harmony with the planet's renewed energy field, a visible symbol of what genuine healing could achieve. "What you've witnessed isn't destruction," she addressed the assembly, her voice carrying the harmonic resonance of her people. "It's restoration. Primera hasn't been damaged, it's been remembered." The chamber erupted in overlapping voices. Corporate leaders demanded explanations for their failing terraforming investments. Colonial representatives worried about their artificially maintained worlds. But underneath the fear and anger, Naira sensed something else: hope. Marcus stepped forward, standing beside her. "For years, the collective sold you a vision of progress built on control and consumption. You saw the cost of that vision in Primera's failing systems, in the slaves you needed to maintain your artificial worlds, in the resources stripped from dying planets. The Celestians offer another way," Commander Vex's voice carried from the back of the chamber, her scales shimmering with purpose as she entered. The resistance leader had arrived with delegates from worlds already pledging to break from collective control. Not domination, but partnership. Not consumption, but renewal. Dr. Vale, still struggling with the transformation of her life's work, rose from her seat. The terraforming systems we designed, they were never sustainable. We knew it, but we couldn't admit it. Couldn't face the idea that our entire approach was flawed. Echo, their crystalline form refracting the natural light, projected data streams showing Primera's transformation. Analysis confirms planetary stability at 97% and rising. Natural systems are self-regulating. Energy consumption reduced by 82%. The evidence was undeniable. In less than a day, Primera had achieved what years of artificial terraforming couldn't: true, sustainable balance. The cost in credits was zero. The cost in lives was none. The only price was the admission that the old way had been wrong. This isn't the end of progress, Naira continued, sensing the fear in many minds. It's the beginning of true advancement. My people don't seek to stop expansion or growth. We seek to guide it in harmony with natural laws. Lieutenant Reed, monitoring security channels, sent an alert through their private comm: collective military forces were mobilizing in nearby systems. Some would never accept change, would fight to preserve their power even as it destroyed them. But they had expected this. As if on cue, ships began appearing in Primera's orbit, not collective warships, but vessels from dozens of worlds touched by the resistance. Peoples and species who had seen the broadcast of Primera's transformation and chosen to stand for a different future. The age of exploitation is over, Marcus declared, his voice carrying the weight of humanity's choice. We stand ready to defend this new path, but our strength isn't in weapons. It's in our commitment to healing worlds, healing relationships, healing the damage done by generations of fear. Naira felt Primera pulse beneath her feet, responding to her connection. Throughout the city, other Celestians were teaching, showing humans and aliens alike how to sense the natural rhythms of their worlds. Knowledge freely given, wisdom freely shared. Dr. Vale approached them, her face showing the strain of someone seeing truth for the first time. I want to learn, she said quietly. Everything I know about planetary science, about terraforming. I want to learn how to do it right. Naira smiled, extending her hand. Where their fingers touched, energy sparkled. That's how change begins. Not with grand declarations, but with simple choices to learn something new. The next hours brought a flurry of declarations as worlds began formally withdrawing from the collective. Some chose violence, refusing to release their power. But for each world that clung to the old ways, 2 more embraced the new path. Commander Vex, coordinating with their growing coalition, reported that former slave worlds were rising up, inspired by Primera's transformation. The collective's forced labor camps were emptying as people chose freedom. Their careful system of control was unraveling, not through force, but through the simple power of witnessed truth. Marcus found Naira later, standing on a balcony overlooking the city. The artificial spires were already beginning to integrate with natural growth, creating a harmony of design that neither could have achieved alone. When I broke you out of that cell, he said, I never imagined it would lead to this. Naira's glow pulsed softly. Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness have the largest echoes. One person choosing to care, to help, to believe in something better. She turned to face him. That's how worlds change. Above them, Primera's new atmosphere shimmered with auroral lights, while below, the first gardens planted by joint human-Celestian teams were taking root. It wasn't perfect, change never is. There would be resistance, setbacks, even conflicts as the galaxy adjusted to a new way of thinking. But the dawn had broken. The storm had passed. And in its wake, something new was growing, not imposed by force or artificial control, but emerging naturally from the simple choice to heal rather than harm, to restore rather than consume, to grow together rather than conquer alone. The promise of that dawn spread across the stars, carried by ships and signals and stories, touching worlds and hearts that had forgotten how to hope. It began with one prisoner and one liberator, but it would grow into something greater, a future built not on power, but on harmony. Not on control, but on trust. Not on fear of what might be lost, but on faith in what could be gained when people chose to remember their true nature. The revolution they had started wasn't one of weapons or violence. It was a revolution of healing, of remembering, of choosing again and again to believe in the possibility of change. And like the natural systems they had helped restore, once begun, it could not be stopped.